All right. It is Wednesday, October 11th. It's 12:45 and I'm wrapping up my day. As you can see, I had a red day. I call it a small red day. Could have been much worse, and we'll get into that when we look at my trades for the day. I had one win at the end of the day, and a small win, and one loss early on in my day. So I lost $382 in my PA accounts combined, and I lost $1,204 combined in my evaluations today. Don't feel too bad about this result today, and I'll get into that when we look at the trades and the reasons why things went the way they went. But today was definitely a lesson in managing my expectations, as well as getting more used to managing the risk of the trades with my new strategy and with managing the Apex accounts themselves. So I think that's my main focus of today's video, and what I'm going to talk about is, on my first trade, I took an LO. It was a momentum trade, and it ended up failing. It went 5 ticks and then turned against me, and never gave me a chance really to get up break even +1. There was a secondary push where maybe I could have done it, but I try to wait for a third push before I really decide to come out of a trade. But it just depends on the way the movement is to really know what I would do. And so in this case, my first trade, what I did do that I was happy about was I moved my stop loss and made it a tighter stop loss and got a smaller loss because of it. And I think that will pay off in the long run by me doing that. However, on my second trade, where I got a small win, I got 2 ticks instead of my 6 or 8 that I usually go for. I'll show you how there's an example where if I had moved my stop loss and stuck with the trade and didn't get out break even +2 when I did, it could have easily been a loss before the trade ultimately ended up moving on and actually getting a win. If I would have just left my stop loss where it belonged from the start of the trade and just stuck with it for a half an hour, I actually would have got my full profit target on the second trade. So all things to learn and think about and consider as we move forward with the strategy and with our strategy for how we deal and manage our Apex accounts as well. A couple quick things to talk about. I did, as I mentioned yesterday, get my, what happened here? I did, as I mentioned yesterday, get my fifth PA account, as you can see. And so I did not trade with that today. And I also am still not trading with my number 2 PA account. So now I have a 25 and 50K backup that I won't trade for now. I'll keep those as backups. And I think what I'm going to do moving forward, which was my original intention when I got the 4 accounts, when I thought I would get 4 accounts, is my original intention was I was going to trade these 2 at the same time, and then trade these 2 at the same time and trade them in pairs and kind of just rotate back and forth. The way things worked out, I ended up trading this number 1 account before trading this number 2 account and trading these 3 at the same time. So I think I'm going to change the structure of my PA accounts on the copier. And so from now on, I'm going to trade a 25 and a 50 together, and then the other 25 and 50 together. Although I'm still thinking about this and figuring out what I really want to do. Really, what I'd like to have is a number 6 PA account. That's a 50K. And then I can trade those in pairs. So the fact that I don't have another 50K backup, I may just continue to kind of rotate, this number 4 account, which is a 50K account, is 1,000 away from trailing, but we're below the starting balance. So what I may do is just, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'll alternate between this 25 and this 25, since in good shape and getting close for a payout on this one that's maybe doable by the end of next week or so. I think I'll take a trade on this one, and then after a trade, win or lose, I'll move to number one, and then I'll trade number four with both of those counts at the same time. I think that's what I just decided I'll do. So we'll do that. So I have one less evaluation, as you can see, because it turned into that number 5 PA. And so now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 active evaluations. And this number 17 is still blown for the rest of the month. It'll come back at the end of the month. And let's get into talking about my trades real quick. Okay, so I started my day a little late today. I actually started somewhere around here, around 7:10. Just had a hard time waking up this morning. And so we had two measured legs down. It was very much looking like a range at this point, as you can see. You know, if I was trading max price action trading system, I would have had a range drawn like that. And so let me zoom in here. And this video is going to be a little bit longer for sure because of the nature of the trades that I took, as well as some things I want to explain about these trades. So hopefully I don't lose you, but I think it's important for me to kind of discuss this for myself and record it and document it. Again, I should say now, I try to say it at the top of the video, but the purpose of this channel is for me to simply record and document the trades I'm taking on my new strategy, and to see how over the course of weeks and months and hopefully years, how successful this strategy ultimately ends up being for me or not. And I just want to have it all documented on YouTube. I'm not revealing the strategy yet in its entirety. I don't know if I ever will, but obviously if it doesn't prove out to be a profitable trading over the long haul, there's no reason to ever reveal it anyways. So for me right now, I'm documenting and recording my trades live and showing everything, showing my accounts, showing the balances, the P&Ls, showing everything. And hopefully down the road of this journey on YouTube, we'll know whether I got anywhere with it or not. So after this summary of my day and the trades I took is fully explained, I will then show my live recordings of my live trades right after this. So because came into the day and I was looking at it like a potential range day, and also today was an FOMC minutes day news, you know, these tend to end up being range days and end up being a bit slow because everyone's waiting for the news to come out, and then it can be crazy or not. Once the news comes out, you just never know. But reason to believe that, you know, full expectation to believe that this is just actually going to be a range day for much of it. So when I came in, I saw the two legs measured down. I didn't draw this at the time, but I recognized it kind of visually in my mind. I saw the consolidation. We, you know, retested where the bottom had been. So it was kind of a third or fourth retest, and we had a strong push up. So taking what I've learned from max price action trading system, since I used to trade that, I'm trying to keep in mind these legs. So if you have one leg up, you kind of expect another leg up, which in this case would make a lot of sense that you would then reach the top of the range again. So I say all that to then explain why when this LO setup over here, I had every reason to think that, okay, this is going to be a great momentum play with my LO, because I'm expecting the second push up to complete a second leg, get back to the top of the range, and, you know, it would be a normal kind of range activity day. So I entered the trade when this was my signal bar. This candle was my BT. I actually had 3 BTs in a row, which is what I refer to when it touches my indicator. And then this is my LO, and that's when it's no longer touching. And so my LO is triggered when it goes 2 ticks above this bar. I consider it the signal bar, the LO bar. And so I got into the trade, and it went 5 ticks by the second candle, and you can see how bearish this candle was, which is kind of a first sign of like, okay, maybe this isn't going to work out the way I thought. And you can see, and by the way, my stop loss was down here, I believe, at the time. Either here or here, I can't remember now, but you'll see it in the live video shortly. So it went 5 ticks immediately and then retraced. And so when it bounced here, was kind of a good sign for me. So I was waiting to see if it would now make the target. And when it didn't, I moved my stop loss up to here once this bar closed. And so this is the part about managing risk and managing for the strategy. You know, my stops tend to be pretty large. So if the stop was left where it was supposed to be, I would have had a -7+ point loss on this trade. But because I moved it all the way up here, it was only a 2.75 point loss. And so, you know, I moved it. You'll see in the live recording when this bar kind of closed, or was getting close to closing, something like that, I moved it under this bar. And with the hope and expectation that maybe it would make a third push and get to my profit target, I would have considered getting out break even +1 if it pushed a little bit more. It never even presented that opportunity. And so I ended up taking a loss right here. And, you know, the loss stings in the moment. You kind of go like, you know, did I read something wrong, or why isn't the strategy working? But it's funny. I didn't get mad this time. I didn't get mad about losing this trade. I feel like I did everything right. I feel like it was smart for me to manage the risk, knowing that this is a momentum trade. The LO is a pure momentum play. And so if it doesn't work on the first push, and it doesn't work on the second push, then I really got to say to myself, like, okay, the momentum isn't there, right? So maybe in the future, I'll have to consider getting out break even +1 on the second push, since it didn't happen. But I do like to give the second opportunity a try. I think it's worth it because I've seen it work plenty of times on a second try. So I think I played it right. I think it made a second try. It didn't get there. It came down. It gave me another pivot point. And I think at that point, the safe play is to move the stop loss under that pivot point. And you either, you know, can get out for break even +1 or +2, or it gets to the full profit target, or you just take the loss there and say, hey, it's a much smaller loss by around 5 points less of a loss than this thing would have been. As you can see, it just went all the way down and broke out the bottom of what looked like a range for the day. So this easily could have been a 7 to 8 point loss, and I'm happy it wasn't. So it stings in the moment, like I said, but I just kind of considered all of the things that happened and thought about it afterwards. I think I recorded some of that, so I'll play that for you so you can see my real-time thought process. And then you just let it go and say, okay, not every trade is going to win. The best strategies in the world, there's going to be losers. There's not a strategy in the world that is 100% winner all the time. And you just have to accept it and move on. And so that's what I really did. Then there was just no setups all this way. And then there was news at around 11. So I was not trading before the news. I try not to trade the hour before, or at least the half hour before. And so I was, you know, not looking for a setup for the most part. And then we get to here at about 11:55 or so. And let me set this up for us here. So here's the things I was thinking at this point. You know, it never reached my measured move up here and came down. So kind of one of the things I was thinking was like, okay, after that, kind of looking for this, right? And so that measured move was reached. So that, you know, I kind of figured, okay, potentially the move to the downside is over based on what I learned from Mackett price action trading system in my previous strategy. And then 2 legs up were completed. So I was kind of thinking, okay, the 2 legs up is probably over. However, we were back into the original range. So I had that kind of in my mind. And then when this made a push down and another push down and another push down, and it was just getting higher and higher and higher, that's when I kind of considered to myself in my mind, like, okay, well, maybe we're looking for another leg up. So maybe this is considered 1 leg up, and now we can consider looking for a second leg up, which, interestingly enough, it has almost reached there now. This is after the market closed now. It just closed right around here. But you can see how these measured moves, if anyone has studied Pat's price action trading system, these measured moves seem to be worth considering. And I still like to consider it, even though I don't trade that strategy anymore. I like to fold things from other strategies into what I'm doing now. And so it's still worth me considering these. So anyway, so having said all that, I was now considering, okay, now maybe we're looking for the second big leg to complete this first leg. And I got the setup here. And so, in the spirit of trying to take the setup every time it comes to really have a good representation of whether the strategy works well or not, I did take the trade. It fit the rules. This was a BT and this was a BT. This was my LO bar. It went 2 ticks above it. My entry, I didn't love my entry because honestly, if I would waited a split second longer, I wouldn't have been able to get into the trade. Usually I'll let it go 2 ticks above and I'll kind of wait a beat and then see if it kind of comes and is staying up there, and then I'll enter. This time it went above and I entered pretty quickly, and it had been kind of underneath the 1 tick above here. And then when it came back up, I entered right when it came back up instead of waiting for it to go above again. I typically will wait for it to go above again before I stop, or before I put my limit order in, and hope that it comes back down, picks me up, and then shoots up. So maybe my entry wasn't the best compared to what I usually try to like to do. But it still fit the rules. It was still triggered. There was no reason to not take the trade. And this one is interesting for many reasons. So I entered the trade and it pulled back immediately, like I was just saying. And my original stop loss was this line, approximately. And so when it pulled back right away and then went back up, I was fully expecting it to reach my profit target here. And of course I didn't have this here either. So I wasn't looking at whether it was going into the midline or not, because I don't consider that for this strategy. But having said that, I fully imagined and expected for it to reach my profit target here on the second push up. It clearly went above my entry. It was pushing. And so when this bar was forming, or maybe this bar, I moved my stop loss to here and just, took some risk off. And so then, this went to the 5th tick again and then started pushing back down. And so when I saw that this bar was going to close kind of bearish, I was really saying to myself, okay, I should probably get out break even +1 because it's that kind of situation where it can just shoot down and take me out and give me a second loss for the day. And I wanted to avoid that. So when this bar closed, I kind of waited to see what was happening, and it just wasn't giving an indication that it was going to push strong up. And so I actually was able to get out break even +2. My entry was 98.75 and my exit was 99.25. So I actually got out break even +2. So, it's a small win, which is good. And then it pulled back. So then I was thinking as I was watching it, and you'll see this all play out, and I'm going to end this video real soon, or the summary real soon, since we're at 20 minutes. But because this pulled back, I was thinking to myself, should I have stayed in or not? I think I did the right thing. For me, this is managing risk, managing my accounts, already having a red a loss and a red day primarily on most of my accounts. I think it's better to just take what I can get out for the +2, not risk having a massively red day, which can be, difficult on your psychology to take 2 losses, to see big red numbers, to do real damage to both of my PA accounts. I just don't want to risk it. But having said all that, if I had stayed in, I imagine I would have moved my stop loss to here. That's likely where I would have moved my stop loss if I had stayed in this trade when it bounced again and taking risk off. And so the interesting thing is this trade ultimately ended up working. As you can see, it never came to my original stop loss. It never even came to where I moved my stop loss after the first original pullback. So if I'd stayed in this trade and not got out for break even +2, or positive 2 ticks, and just left my stop here or here and just let it play out, first of all, I would have been in the trade for over a half hour before it got there, but it would have worked for my full profit target. So, something to keep in mind. I don't know what to think about that. I think I did everything right as far as risk strategy management. But if I do think that if I had stayed in the trade and not taken it off here, I think I would have definitely moved my stop loss here to take even more risk off, even though it's just a difference of a few ticks. And then as you see here, this bar would have come down and touched my stop loss and taken me out of the trade. I would have been taken out by that one single tick, and then it would have gone on and won the trade. So I have a hard time believing I would have left the stop loss here. This likely would have turned into a loser for me. It would have most likely, I really think I would have ended up having a loser, just touching my stop loss right there below this candle. And then it would have ended up being a winner, and I would have really been just emotionally distraught over that. So all these things to say, I think it's good to have good management system, know what you would do when you get into certain situations. I really believe based on the first trade I lost today, I reduced my risk and I got a much smaller loss that I can easily make up tomorrow. On just one trade essentially gets me back almost all of the loss today on the red accounts. And otherwise it would have taken multiple trades to make that up. And then on this one, we just fully discussed it. So again, I think just important to manage our expectations. I am surprised that I got another loss on the LO so quickly again. I really think that this is a 90% setup or better. And so to have a fourth loss on YouTube in my fourth week is more losses than what I was expecting to see. However, I'm not keeping track trade by trade. I'll round it all up at the end of the week, but I do believe that I'm something like 33 trades and I've got 4 losses. So it's a really high percentage. I'm still profitable on all these accounts overall, using the strategy. So I think it's just, I'm working on managing my expectations for the strategy. And I think today was an example of, I think I did a good job of managing my risk, as far as managing my Apex accounts. And at the end of the day, this red day doesn't feel too horrible to me. It feels like a lot, $1,200 to lose on the evaluations altogether. But, the grand scheme of thing, the PA accounts are what's really important to me right now. It's only a $382 loss. That's not a big deal at all. And, again, just looking at, last thing, just looking at my PA accounts, I've still got plenty of drawdown here. I've got $1,000 basically. And, the accounts that really matter to me are these two 25K accounts, because they are very close to being able to get a payout. You need 26,600 to be approved for a payout. And I've got more than enough days on this account. So the fact that I'm rotating the accounts saved this account from that loss on the first trade. And so this wasn't affected at all by a loss today. And I'm still, on target to hopefully reach my payout next week on this one. And the 25K that was about the same amount of money in the account, I took a minimal loss, $282 on it. And the account's still in good shape. I've got over $1,000 of trail down threshold. So everything's fine for my PA accounts. Good shape. And that's the most important thing to me right now, because like I said yesterday, I really am just, my main goal right now is just getting to a payout on at least one or two of these 25K accounts, hopefully by the next payout period on the 20th to the 25th of this month. That's my current short-term goal. And today's loss didn't affect that. So having said all of that, this is a really long video, 25 minutes right here. Still have to show my live trades, live recordings. So I'm going to end this summary now, and here's my live trades. Thanks for watching.